Hi, everybody. Peter Greenberg here. Happy Thursday, the first Thursday of November 2022. Hope you're having a great time wherever you happen to be. Time for our global travel update. Excuse my somewhat hoarse voice, called dehydration from too many flights in the air. Together today. You know what to do about giving me your comments and your questions. Peter@petergreenberg.com also works, and we will answer them as we get a little bit further along. But lots of stuff to talk about. By the way, we're coming to you today from St. Augustine in Florida, America's oldest city. And I'm sitting here inside the St. Augustine Pirate and Treasure Museum. Lots of treasures in here as well, but that's another story. Now, let's talk about what's some real piracy out there, otherwise known as airline fares. I haven't seen them this high in a long time. And normally at this time of the year, they wouldn't be high except for Thanksgiving. They're staying high throughout the rest of this year. Get used to it on domestic flights. I saw an airfare the other day from New York City to Madison, Wisconsin, $1,000. I had to be on that flight, and the plane was full, which means everybody was paying it. It's crazy. Now, is there any good news? Yes. We're now seeing lots of discounted fares for international flights that kick in after January 5th. We're looking at round trip to Europe for under $500, offered by airlines like Finnair and TAP from Portugal and others. But you can't wait till January to book them. You got to book them in the next 36 to 48 hours. But you can start booking them for after January 5th, all the way through May of 2023. So be alert. Now you're advised. Pivot quickly if you want to do that. But for domestic airfares, it's going to be a sad state of affairs through January, just the way it is right now. Now, speaking of sad state of affairs, what happened 3 days ago? Here's what happened. Delta Airlines pilots, 15,000 of them, voted overwhelmingly to authorize a strike. Now, here's the significant thing about that. Of the 15,000 pilots who were members of the Airline Pilots Association representing Delta, 96% of them voted. And of the 96% who voted, 99% of them voted to authorize a strike. Similar actions are being considered at American with their pilots, Southwest with their pilots, and United with their pilots. They just rejected a contract offer from United. Now, does this mean everybody's going out on strike? Not necessarily. There's a process here. In order for those pilots at Delta to actually go on strike, the National Mediation Board has to rule that negotiations are at an impasse and further negotiations would be futile. Then it goes to arbitration. Then it goes to a 30-day cooling off period. And even then, if they want to go on strike, there's something called the National Railway Act, which past administrations have invoked to avert strikes and keep people at work. You may remember back in the 1990s, Bill Clinton did it to avert a strike at American Airlines. Most recently, President Biden did the exact same thing using the National Railway Act to halt a possible train strike. So lots of tools in the arsenal there. Based on everything I'm looking at for the calendar, no one's going on strike before next year. So your holiday plans, other than all the other chaos you have to deal with, are at least protected from a strike. Excuse my cough. Now, history will also tell you that when labor gets angry, labor moves more slowly. I remember the days at Continental Airlines and Eastern Airlines where management was not authorizing a new contract, and pilots would start writing up, seat backs that didn't recline as a major mechanical problem that had to be fixed before the plane could take off. And therefore, here we go again. Planes were delayed and canceled. They were doing everything by the book. So expect that to possibly happen as well. But even having said that, the way the process works, we're not going to deal with any of those major labor actions until the first quarter of next year. Now, interesting statistic that just came out. The folks at Longwood, they do a lot of travel research on the American traveler sentiment. And guess what came back? Now, despite those $1,000 tickets, despite inflation, despite gas prices and everything else, 92% of the Americans surveyed said they're still flying within the next 6 months. They're not giving up their plans. 23% of them said they were concerned about gas prices. But then again, we haven't seen a tipping point at all yet that stops anybody from getting in their car. It may affect the number of people they put in the car, but it's not stopping them from driving in the car. So what does this mean? They know about the airfares being as high as you do and as I do. So what's keeping them going? They're making some conscious choices not to buy other things. We're talking about retail, clothing, electronic items, new cars, things like that. And this is coming at the worst time of the year for retailers because we're getting into Christmas shopping season. And that can often amount to 25% of their profits in any given year. So where are we seeing it? If they're foregoing buying for themselves and limiting buying what they're going to buy for others, that means it's going to hit hard for the retail community. Already, we've seen indications of this. Why? It's the shippers. FedEx has already announced it's going to be closing about 90 of their offices, and they've already started parking their planes. Not all of them, but some of them. This never happens at this time of the year, and it's an indication that retail and holiday shopping may be very, very soft this year. So if you're looking for sales, you're going to find them in January. The smart travelers will, guess what? Not travel in the last quarter of this year. Save your money or spend it on Christmas shopping and then travel in January, February, March. But to do both at this time of the year, it's an expensive proposition. Okay, some other things I want to talk about. The World Happiness Reports just come out. I bet you were waiting for that. Guess which is the world's happiest country? It's Finland, followed by a number of Scandinavian countries. Luxembourg came in number 6. Australia came in at number 12, followed by Ireland and Canada. So where did the U.S. fit in? We're number 16. Not pretty. We're not that happy. But then again, Japan and Korea, they dropped all the way down to number 54 and number 59. Speaking of numbers, I know it's not a pleasant thought, but I'm going to share it with you. We all remember, I should say many of us remember, that iconic video of that rat dragging that piece of pizza down the steps of a New York City building, right? That would make you think that New York has it's the rattiest city in America. Nope, it's not. Number 1 most rat-infested city, anybody want to guess? It's Chicago, followed by New York, okay? Although I should tell you, if you just base it on the number of rats, a New York rat population doubles the population of humans in New York. Yikes. That's a little crazy. And then who's coming after that? Los Angeles, numero 3. Washington, D.C. at number 4. San Francisco, number 5. Now, why is this suddenly changing in terms of the numbers in these cities? It's because during the pandemic, so many restaurants built outdoor dining facilities, otherwise known as wooden sheds, a perfect place for rats to multiply and eat. So from now on, if you're going to be eating in one of those places, you might have company. All right, so now you know about that. Now, last week, you may remember, we did Facebook Live from the city of Nîmes in France. After that, I went to Paris. My wife had never been to the Louvre. She forced me to take her. You know what I always say? There are I happen to like other museums better, but when your wife wants to go to the Louvre and she's never been there before, you take her to the Louvre. So when we got there, it was complete madness. Lines were everywhere. It was a sea of humanity. And I shot this little video for you. I first came to the Louvre in Paris with my parents when I was 12 years old. The lines were crazy then, they're crazier now. And why do they come to this museum with 36,000 pieces of art, the largest museum in the world? They come to see this. Can you find it? Look hard. It's over there. All right, time's up. You know the answer, the Mona Lisa. Why do they come? Because you're all failed art history majors. You studied the painting in school and you figure, I better come see it. So you stand in these long lines, you finally see it, and what does everybody say when they leave? It's so small. It is. For my money, there's a better option. Check out the Musée d'Orsay. It's a much better experience. Okay, smile like the Mona Lisa. and then get out of here. My experience at the Louvre, and I hope my wife will forgive me, but I kept my promise. I took her. A little throwback Thursday for you now. 47 years, in fact, making me feel very old. But 47 years ago, I co-wrote and co-reported a cover story that made history at Newsweek because it was the same cover, same subject that Time magazine did on the exact same week on an artist that 99% of America had never heard of. It was a big controversial story because we were ahead of the curve. Time magazine was ahead of the curve, and the rest of America was going, who? Show the picture. That's my cover story on the right, which I did with Maureen Orth, and the cover story on the left, reported by my good friend David DeVos. And if you read Springsteen's autobiography, you'll find out very quickly that as a result of these simultaneous covers in which it was a game of chicken in which neither magazine blinked, he didn't record for another year and a half. A lot of lawsuits. But history-making cover, which I thought I'd share with you so I could feel so much older today. All right, get rid of that now, Anthony. Thank you. All right. But speaking of Throwback Thursday, I've got to give you one more. Here's the question that comes with it. Where was this photo taken? You'll probably figure out who it is. And there's some history there as well. And when was it taken? All right, let her rip. All right. I'll let you guys look at that for a second as I scroll down and say hello to everybody. So let's go down here. Hold on a second. There we go. Okay, hello from Buffalo. Go Bills. Bills are having a great year. You're right, Debbie, they are. Tampa Bay, oh my God. Okay. Liz is saying back home in snowy Wyoming. Question for you, how do you keep calm during serious turbulence, especially in smaller planes? Well, to be honest, you don't have time to keep calm. You don't have time to get nervous. Just make sure your belt is fastened and you go through it. The thing about in a small plane, you mentioned being in a small plane, is that you're literally either sitting next to or right behind the pilot. You're seeing exactly what he or she is seeing. It's allowing you to be better able to adjust and adapt. It's no different than people who get seasick. Most of my friends who get seasick because they're in their cabin. They're not looking at the horizon and they're not rolling the way the ship is rolling. They're letting the ship roll them and they have no point of reference. So bottom line is, I don't really get nervous. There you go. It is what it is. Okay. Anybody want to guess about the photo? When was it taken? Where was it taken? Who's in the photo? Then I'll give you the background. Let's keep going. Dave's saying hi from Madison. Go Badgers. Yeah, I say hi from Madison right back to you and say, let's wait for next year. Okay. Hello from Jacksonville, Florida. Hey, Scott. We're not far from you. We're in St. Augustine. Eddie May, my old pal from NBC. Good day from a beautiful day in Babylon, New York. We are way overdue for a catch-up, Eddie, so we'll talk soon. Okay, let's see. Who else is scrolling in here today? Hi from Fort Collins, Colorado. Just returned from a wonderful trip to Croatia, Slovenia, and Venice. What a great combination. By the way, if you've not been to Slovenia or gone to Lake Bled, you're missing out. It's really amazing, and I recommend it highly. And what do about 40% of the people in Slovenia do as a hobby, which means you're going to leave with it? They're all beekeepers. Great honey in Slovenia, by the way. Most people don't know that. Okay. Couple of people guessing. Okay. Melanie is saying, looks like Netanyahu, guessing Israel. 30 years ago, wild guess. Okay, you're partly correct. Debbie's saying Israel 20 years ago with Netanyahu. Partially correct. Okay, I'll fill you in a second on that. I'm going to scroll back up here to answer some more questions. Jean's saying good morning from Tulsa. Okay, Kimberly says, does it still work to invoke the rule that airlines have to check all airlines for flights when a flight is canceled? Well, to tell you the truth, Kimberly, that's not the rule. The original rule was called Rule 240. It's now called Rule 1 2020. But in essence, it says this: if your flight is delayed or canceled for any reason other than weather, and your airline has an interline agreement with other airlines, and some do, you can go up to the counter and say, hey, will you 240 me? They'll know exactly what you're talking about. They'll be a little shocked that you know, but now they know that you know. And what that means is they can then have the opportunity then to basically endorse your ticket over to a competing carrier that's flying the same route and get you on that flight. Airlines don't like to do it because they lose the revenue. But once you invoke that rule, if there's seats available on another flight with an airline they have an interline agreement with, you'll get out. Okay? The original rule was Rule 240. It's now called Rule 1 2020. You'll be in better shape. Okay, let's see what else we have. Lena saying greetings from the ancient village of Old Town in Orange in California. Yeah, Old Town. Good luck. All right, let's scroll down here. Hold on a second. Greetings from Mama Samia land, otherwise known as Tanzania. All right, Adolf, thank you for jumping in there. Paul's saying, thinking about an adventuresome vacation in 2023, considering Patagonia or Galapagos, Peru or safari, South African safari or Zambia. Well, we also mentioned Tanzania, and that's a good idea. For me, and from my experience, Tanzania is the way that Kenya used to be and somewhat worth it. So check it out. Zambia is great too. One way you could, if you want to do an adventuresome trip, there's an amazing rail trip that starts in Pretoria in South Africa, goes through Zimbabwe, and ends up in Victoria Falls. It's called Rovos Rail. From my experience, it makes the Orient Express look like child's play. It's not an inexpensive trip, but it is a life-changing trip. Check it out. Then you come back through Botswana after you go to Zambia, and you almost completed the circle. All right, let's keep going down here. Hello from Tucson to Camilla. Okay, Jack and Diane from Indiana. Hello to you guys. Okay, all my friends from Tanzania are weighing in. Joyce saying, my hubby and I want to go to South Africa next year. What would be a great experience for us? So I just gave you some of them. All right. Well, you know what? Let's be specific. You want to go to Africa, there are 54 countries. So let's try to look at it a different way. What do you want to do when you get there? Let's fine tune it that way, and I'll give you some suggestions. Okay. All right. Moving along. I'm scrolling down here. Any more guesses? Looking. Nope. Oh, Colleen is saying, she's talking about an exceptional visit to the Louvre. Look, if you have the time, you can spend a month there and never see everything at the Louvre. I have no problem if I had a month. But the one thing you want to do there is the minute you leave the Mona Lisa, go up to the second floor where they have the French painters. Nobody ever goes there. They have an amazing Islamic wing there. I mean, got to check that out. And it's less crowded. Okay. Greetings from San Leandro. Hello, Jenny. My wife is watching. I hope you forgive me that I took you to the Louvre. Okay. Tim wants to know what's the most reliable airline to take to Bimini from the States. I heard there's one airline that drops the flight out of nowhere. Well, Bimini, my suggestion is don't fly there. Go to a neighboring island and take a ferry because the frequency of the flights there is not good. Okay, Barbara just got back from Italy. She's in Illinois, and tourism is back in full swing yet. Don't we know it? Okay, Eddie May is now jumping in saying it's Israel with a prime minister not that long ago. Okay, I'll tell you what it is. You got it right. It was Netanyahu who just became prime minister for the 5th time. The longest reigning, if you want to look at number of years, prime minister in Israel's history. This was shot during the making of the royal tour, which we did back in 2013. And that was taken on a soccer field in Jerusalem. where for reasons I can't explain, they wanted me to play soccer. And for those of you who watch the show, something happens in this game. There were two teams, uh, and we never saw it coming. When it happened, we had to shut down production. I was on television the next day with everybody asking me, "What did you do to him?" But we left it in the show. You can still see the show, by the way, on Amazon Prime. Check it out. Let me know when you see it happening, and I think you'll appreciate it. Okay, Sue is saying hi from Las Vegas. More Tanzania folks checking in. Patty says I'll be visiting Paris in December and planning a trip to Italy in April or May. 60 exchange rate is good now. Should I go ahead and get out euros for the Italy trip while in Paris? Well, sure. It's the same currency. Do it there, but don't do it in the United States. And do not take them out of an ATM. Just go to a bank. Two reasons why you don't want to take them out of an ATM. There are fees, and the exchange rate may not be beneficial. Okay? All right. Okay. Keep going here. Jew is still in Japan. I overslept. Well, thanks for waking up. Okay, Elizabeth saying hello from Los Angeles. Need to be in New York for a couple of days in December. Any hotel suggestions, please? Prices are beyond unbelievable. You bet. Hotel rates are now 28% higher than they were in 2019. And New York, it's even higher than that. They're getting these rates and they're not coming down. My suggestion is, look, we found a hotel, not just in New York. Remember the hotel we found? Our good friends at the Wall Street Journal found it. A Motel 6 in Santa Barbara that was going for $436 a night, and they were filling it. Well, guess what? They're still filling it. So think about the Marriott Residence Inns, the Hilton Garden Inns, those kind of hotels, not in Midtown. Or get even smarter, check out the Marriott in Brooklyn, right? It's just 2 stops away on the subway to Midtown. That's what I do. You don't have to stay in Midtown Manhattan. That will just jack up the price even more. Okay, here we go. Terry says, I'm intrigued by the idea of visiting 2 bush camps in southern Tanzania. What do you think? I think it's a great idea. How about that? All right, now it's time to talk about a few more things that I've been waiting to talk to you about. And that's this. I'm turning the page so I get to it. I told you that there's some great deals out there. There are. TAP, Aer Lingus, Lufthansa, Swiss Air, British Airways, Finnair, Air Canada, and United all have deals overseas starting January 5th, but available to book now. And we're talking flights of under $500 round trip. There's one right now, JFK to Paris, $387. You can't go from New York to Boston for $387. So check that out. Okay? Very, very important to do it now because there'll be flash sales that will last for maybe 48 hours, but good from January through May. You got to jump on them quickly. Okay. Now let's go to the photo of the week. I like this photo, especially considering where I was. Well, you know where it is. And by the way, because of the Nord Stream pipeline and energy crisis in all of Europe, they're actually reducing the number of hours they're lighting the Eiffel Tower now. But guess what? We got it. And the person who took that is Amanda Klimak. And she writes, when you visit a city like Paris many times, you have to get creative when planning your experiences. So our City of Lights tour by Sidecar, check out the Sidecar, was just perfect. And a glass of champagne, of course. She loved it. And of course, all photographs depend on the light. She got the light. If you think you've got a photograph that qualifies for a picture of the week, you know what to do. Send it in to me, peter@petergreenberg.com. And if we like it, we post it again. Amanda, congratulations on your tour of Paris and capturing the Eiffel Tower while it was actually lit. Always a helpful idea. Some other questions. Debbie says, did I see the Tiffany windows at Flagler College? You bet I did. For those people who don't know what we're talking about, it's in St. Augustine. The original name was the Ponce de Leon Hotel. It became a college later on. an amazing piece of architecture, and the most number of Tiffany windows in the United States. And what do those Tiffany windows look down on now? It's the cafeteria for the kids, for the students. But it's a great building. You got to check it out. Yes, so I did see him. By the way, I have not found the Fountain of Youth. And I'm also not looking for it. But if you come to St. Augustine, you can't avoid it. Everybody seems to think they know where it is. Don't think so. But forgetting that tourist trap, it's a great city to visit. The history here is well preserved. What I love about St. Augustine, they have a rule in place that's been here since, this rule's been in place since 1963, that no building can be higher than 35 feet. That makes it so perfect because they preserve the architecture. So no skyscrapers and no ugly modern buildings. It's, we're going back to the 1500s here and well worth it. Okay. Leanne says, luggage question, carry-on, hard shell or soft, 21 inch or 22. Well, let's talk about the measurements first because every airline's different. You want 21 because some airlines will not let you fit that 22 incher in the sizer. And the next thing you know, you got a problem. That's number one. Number two, the hard shell bags to me, with the exception of maybe two, one being Rimowa, they break. They don't hold up. So I'm a big fan of soft shell. All right. Then David's coming in saying Amsterdam's Schiphol airport is still a mess. Gee, what a surprise. It is. Which other airport would I recommend to fly into and then take a train to a final Netherlands destination? Here's the airport. Get a Eurail pass. Forget it. Fly to another airport and then get on the train. Get to your nearest airport that has a train station linked into the Eurail pass system, which, by the way, covers 33 different kinds of trains and countries. You just have to buy that Eurail pass before you leave the U.S. in conjunction with your round trip ticket, okay? And you can buy a 1-week ticket, a 2-week ticket, a month-long ticket. And if you plan it right, you won't get hosed in a lot of hotels because you'd sleep some of those trips on the train, okay? There you go on that one. Leslie says, going to London in August of 2023, when should I purchase my airline ticket? Not now. The algorithms will not be pleasant for you now. You're not going to get any discounts now. What you want to do is wait until March. Okay? Not April, March. Barbara says, reading about COVID spikes in Europe and a new mutation, will they lock down countries again? I think the days of lockdowns are over. There's an economic imperative there that will mitigate that opportunity. But get your vaccinations, get your boosters. I do not believe, I could be wrong, but I've heard no indication from any ministers of any country that I've been dealing with that there's any serious consideration to locking down countries again. Jen says, do I have any tips for getting a more affordable room rate? The cheapest I can find is over $300 a night in Los Angeles. Well, excuse my throat again, but let's define Los Angeles, can we? It's 86 separate incorporated cities in desperate search of a community. Where in Los Angeles do you want to stay? You're way too general in that question. So ask it again. I'll try to help you. Okay, Henry says, what's the fastest way to renew my U.S. passport? This is a typical question that we get so many times. We remember during the pandemic where the U.S. passport office is essentially closed. People were sent home. They could not physically produce a passport remotely. The waiting times were like 9 months to a year. Well, the waiting times are coming back. Why? People can't wait to get out of town next year. The waiting times could be as much as 5 months. Well, let's do the math. It's now November. You want to travel next summer? Renew it now. Don't wait. You can go to a U.S. passport agency office and do that. But if you need it expedited, there are a number of expediting services out there. The one that I like a lot, it's called It's Easy, run by a guy named David. They're in New York, but they use FedEx. You'll pay for it, but you know what? You'll get it back quickly. And for those people who travel a lot like I do, if you don't have your passport, you lost all your options. So you can either wait for 5 or 6 months, or you can do it in an expedited way. You can even ask for expedited service to the U.S. passport agencies, but that may only cut it down a month. So be aware of that. Okay. Catherine says, I'm a U.S. citizen. Can I do my global entry interview outside the U.S. if I'm living abroad? We're going to check on that for you. I do believe you can if you're in a city that has pre-clearance, like Abu Dhabi, or a country like Ireland or Canada, because they will have officers there. You have to do an interview with a U.S. Customs officer before you get your global entry. So you got to find out where we have U.S. Customs officers. That's where we have pre-clearance. That's the Bahamas. That's Bermuda, Abu Dhabi, Canada, Ireland, and I'm probably missing one. But other than that, you're probably going to have to do it in the U.S. Anne says, family of 6 flying to Paris in June of 2023. When should we book? You forgot to tell me when in June. Is it before June 15th or after? If it's before, you'll be in good shape. You can actually book that maybe in February. If it's after, you better start looking relatively soon, because now you're in high season land with very little benefit of a discount. Let me scroll down here, say hello to a few more people here. Okay, Jim and Harriet are back in Richmond, Virginia. Nice to hear that. Let's keep going down here. I'm going to scroll here and find people here. Here we go. Where are we? Oh, how's travel in Ireland? Sharon wants to know, is the airport good? Travel in Ireland is great, but the airport in Dublin is a mess. Now, it's a little bit less of a mess now, but it's still going to get a mess. And right now, speaking of that part of the world, remember when they had caps during the summer? Heathrow limiting the number of people who could fly out of Heathrow every day to 100,000? When was the last time you heard about caps? Well, about 3 weeks ago, they said, you know what? We think we've got it handled now. We're not going to institute caps for the holiday season in 2022. And then what do we find out? The border and customs officers, right, the passport control officers, are going to strike in December. That's 3,500 of them. And here we go at Heathrow again. Let's say the words long lines. It's crazy. So that's your answer right now for them. Zhu wants to say, is it wise to use the ATM at Oslo Airport for? No, it's not. Go to a bank. Or whatever you do, don't go to a money changer. And it's expensive. Remember, they get you both ways at both ends of the transaction. When you change the money, and then when you change it back. Okay. Greg wants to know, when is the best time to travel to Maui? Are there any direct flights from Boston? Well, let's get down to a definition of the word direct. You're asking if there are any nonstop flights. At one point, I think Hawaiian Air did have one, but I haven't seen it lately. Direct does not mean nonstop. It means you're stopping. The best time to go to Hawaii would be right now, in the next couple of months, between January 15th and February 14th. That's before President's Day weekend and after the Christmas and New Year's rush. All right. Patrick, thank you for telling me to feel better. I feel great, just losing my voice, but thank you. All right. Let's keep going down here. Hello from Falls Church, Virginia, says Nancy. My husband and I are flying from on United to London Heathrow on Tuesday, November 15th, arriving at 10 in the morning on Wednesday. Our suitcases are carry-on size, but can we check them? Wondering if the luggage situation at Heathrow is better. Well, in relative terms, it is better because fewer people are flying. However, it's still a mess. Remember this, if you have check-in bags, the airline's not going to charge you to check them. So why would you have a double negative whammy by checking bags that could get lost, right? Go with the carry-on. That's what I do. Terry wants to know, is Shannon a better airport than Dublin? For my money, it is, but they have fewer flights. So you have fewer options. Although I love all the airports in Dublin for another reason. Not only are the people so nice, they've got pre-clearance. You clear U.S. customs in Ireland, so when you land back in the U.S., you're not standing in any line. You're just getting your bags and going home or connecting your flights. Okay. Okay. Joseph saying hi from Nairobi. Okay. Kuna Matata. Hello from Ethiopia. There's a country we haven't heard from in a while. All right. One of the more beautiful countries, by the way. And for those people who are adventure seekers, check out the Omo River. That's class 6. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Going scrolling one more time before we. All right. I'm going to rest my voice. How do you like that? But before I go, don't forget our radio show this weekend, Saturday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. You know where it's coming from? Even though their football team sucks, Madison, Wisconsin. So check it out. I'll see you on the radio from Madison, Wisconsin, day after tomorrow. You can still look at Royal Tour of Tanzania. That's on Amazon Prime and Apple TV. And check your local listings because our latest show, Hidden Canary Islands, has premiered on PBS. So check your local markets. I hope you get a chance to see it. And it's also available on Amazon Prime and Apple TV Plus. I'm going to go back to the Pirate Museum here. I am Métis, and I'll see you next week. Have a great weekend. My voice is coming back, I promise you. And we'll talk soon. Be safe, everybody.